All the buttons have been pressed.
With confidence.
Yeah, things are happening. Cool. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's the thing we do every day. My name is Sean Shapiro, and I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. I know sometimes I block the sign behind, but we are here to answer your traffic and police questions. And joining us today is Jerry Agar from News Talk 1010. He's that radio guy that I visit. He's dubbed me the TikTok traffic cop, and I'm using it. I've taken it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But we're going to take questions from his callers. If you want to call into the radio show, feel free. You can go in and text either 71010, or call 416-872-1010, and you can call in as a guest. I just realized I need to let's see here. I usually adjust my zoom. There we go. For the folks in YouTube, I zoom in a little bit. I need a remote zoom. That would make my life a lot easier, especially when I forget like I just did. I hope everyone's day is going well. Where are you calling or watching from? Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I need to know these things. We have people internationally who regularly watch us, and I'd love to know where you're watching from, because I'm just interested in you. I just want to know what you're all about. And if you're not already aware of this, we are broadcasting on multiple platforms. So that means we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram Live, we're on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. We're everywhere. If we're not somewhere, let us know where we should be. Snarky comments excluded. Or maybe it should be only snarky comments. That would make it more interesting, wouldn't it? There are lots of things we're talking about today. I know Jerry's got some stuff and things that he wants to discuss. And then, of course, it's really a show that's for you, led by you. Because if you make comments, if you add questions, it makes the show more interesting. So call in, write in. If you want to get us on other platforms and you're curious where you can find us, trafficcop.ca will take you to my Linktree. Linktree will take you to all sorts of options, one of which is Volley. Volley is our community space. And I'm just having a look here. I see there's some questions in waiting. I think it's continuations from yesterday's show. But you can get there. You can send me video, voice, or text. And feel free to do that, because we'll play your voice messages live on the air. Yes. It's amazing how that works. Ryan Pin coming in by YouTube says, good morning, cleaning and practicing some bugle this morning in prep for I didn't know you were Ryan Pin is a driving instructor who used to be with the military. He lives in Nova Scotia, and he's a bugle player, apparently. And I don't think I knew that before. So thank you for, now I want to hear you play. Can you record this and we'll play it? Maybe we'll play it on Friday. If you can do a bugle video, I will play it on the channel on Friday for November 11th. I got too many 11s. Hello.
Coming up here in 10 seconds.
Okay, we're ready to go. You heard it first. You heard it right from Control. That was News Talk 1010 Control. Is it Control? I'm making things up. Is it actually called Control? Is it just the technical?
It is.
Oh, it is Control. Hey, look at that. Amazing. I have hot tea that I don't plan on spilling on myself. And then I'm like, I have a small mug, so I thought maybe I'll bring the kettle. So I put the kettle off to the side. I don't want to take bets, but I'm really hoping.
Listen anytime, anywhere to News Talk 1010 Toronto through your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Jerry Agar continues.
Good to have you along, and every once in a while, every couple of weeks or so, we dip into a daily show on TikTok with the TikTok traffic cop, Sean Shapiro, #@traffic-services. He's a traffic cop for Toronto Police. He started the TikTok thing, and we thought, hey, why don't we take advantage of that opportunity? And good morning, Sean Shapiro.
Good morning. Happy to be back.
Well, good to have you. We've got all kinds of questions already coming in. How about this one? I'm a tractor trailer making he's a tractor trailer. It's the tractor trailer's writing in, not the driver. I'm a tractor trailer making a right-hand turn on city streets. Obviously, I need to turn into the left-hand lane. He needs more than one lane to turn the thing, right? And so who has the right way, the tractor trailer or a person turning from the left?
Well, you got a number of things going on. Anybody making a turn has to ensure that they can make the turn in safety. And that might be waiting for the drivers who don't know any better and don't give you that space that you need. So you may have to be patient, because at the end of the day, if you are turning and it results in a collision, you're going to be at fault, and so could the other person. And then it'll be determined in court or by insurance companies who has more fault.
All right. So it's kind of, like so many things in traffic, I think it's if everybody could just decide to cooperate with one another, we'd be okay.
Well, absolutely. And I'll tell you something. It's something that my friend Scott Marshall says all the time, and I've stolen it from him and called it my own. Well, sort of. I'm giving him credit right now. If you are, if right of way is not something that you take, it's something that you give. So if you want to be a good neighbor, a good road user, give the right of way. It's safer. You guarantee you're going to be in a better position than the other person, in my opinion. And what are you giving up? 30 seconds? It's the way to do it.
All right, here is Vern from Whitby. What's your question, Vern?
Hi, Jerry. Thanks for taking my call. Sean, I was wondering if you've run into this yourself. I'm a Toronto firefighter, and I noticed over the last 20, 30 years, people not really understanding that they should pull to the right when emergency vehicles are approaching from either way. I remember back in the 70s and 80s, they used to have educational programs on the radio and TV, just sort of informing the public of what they should do, but they fell off the air years ago, and it just seems to me, when I'm running calls, that people just don't have any idea which way they should. Some stop right in the middle of the road, right in front of you sometimes.
I know your pain. It happens all the time. It's one of the reasons when police are responding to calls, very often we leave our lights and sirens off unless we have to go through an intersection, because people do the most unpredictable things. And, you talk about PSAs on television and radio. We have a lot of cord cutters, a lot of people, especially younger folks, new drivers, who just don't know what they're doing, and they don't tune into the big stations to hear those PSAs. So we're doing our best with outreach like this on social media and joining up with Jerry Agar on the radio to get people on the know. And you're right. Pulling over to the nearest curb or edge of roadway is what they need to do, and they need to do it immediately.
Well, they should have been taught that when they were getting their driver's license.
One
You'd
would
think so.
Yeah. All right, Vern.
Sometimes they stop right in front of you, and they just don't seem to have a clue. So hopefully the government gets behind a little more advertising with that regard.
Yeah, Vern, I've seen people. I saw this happen just recently on Burnham Thorpe, where there was a fire truck coming with lights and sirens going and everything, and there were people who were insisting they had the right of way in front, and the truck had to literally stop at the intersection and wait for people to go through.
Absolutely. It happens all the time.
Yep. Thanks very much for your call. Now, somebody is asking what the rule is here in terms of making a right-hand turn if there are oncoming people going in the same direction in a bicycle lane. Do you have to wait for the bicycle to go all the way through before you can turn and cross that lane?
Well, it's funny you bring this up. We've been talking about bicycle lanes a lot recently, and it depends on the construction. If you have a bicycle lane that is truly a lane what's it called? We have lanes, and then we have tracks, and tracks are separated by some kind of a barrier. Those, they have a right of way, and you must make sure it's clear, and you cannot turn in front of them, causing them to have to slow down or change their way. If there is a hashtag with a green marking on the ground, then you can pinch the curb, and you can move into their space, and they can go around you. So it depends. But at the end of the day, you are responsible for whatever you do when you're making a turning movement, and you cannot cause a bicycle to come into harm's way because of your movement.
Somebody wrote in a text asking whether it is mandatory to wear a helmet on a motorcycle, or is it just your own safety?
It is mandatory. There is an exemption for religious purposes for those that practice the Sikh faith.
So it's not mandatory then?
It's mandatory for everyone else.
That's stupid.
You know what?
Well, look, you're like people. The Sikhs might get mad at me, but to me, it's either okay, it's mandatory, or we've decided because we want an accommodation for Sikhs, then nobody has to wear a helmet.
It's a tough situation. You have people that were excluded from our magical hobby of riding because of their faith, and that's not okay either.
Okay, well then let's drop the helmet law. Here's my position on that, by the way, since you and I are both motorcycle riders. I don't think the helmet should be mandatory, and you're an idiot if you don't wear one.
I agree with you in that regard. I was in Ohio. I tried riding without a helmet for all of one stop on the highway. I felt so out of place. I pulled over, put it back on.
Okay, here is Sylvia from Woodbridge.
Hi, I have a question about HOV lanes. So if you have an HOV lane, far left, let's say on the highway, is that considered a passing lane? Because we also have HOV far right.
No. So on the highway, on 400 series highways, the HOV is very specifically a high occupancy vehicle lane, and there's very specific criteria as to what you must meet to go in it. So if you have multiple passengers, you can go in. If you have a green plated vehicle, you can use it. There are some others that are also included. The HOV or the diamond lanes seen on city streets on the right-hand side are multi-purpose lanes, bus, taxi, high occupancy, but they are not. None of them are passing lanes. And in fact, this concept of passing lane is a little bit of a misnomer. The left lane is where the faster traffic should go, but it's not specifically passing. It's for people who are traveling up until the speed limit, and slower traffic should be moving to the right.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I think there's a lot of people that don't know that, because they're always up at my rear and then giving certain gestures.
There's a lot of people who don't realize that they're breaking the law when they're exceeding the speed limit, even by 1 kilometer.
Thanks for your call,
so
Sylvia.
much.
All right, somebody's asking whether there's any kind of law regarding offensive messages. I think they probably mean bumper stickers, etc., on vehicles.
You know, I'm not aware of any specific law. If it was something that was based in hate or racism, I think that would be something that could be followed up on, but it's not a specific Highway Traffic Act offense that I'm aware of. I know that the ministry won't let you have an offensive license plate, but there's no law that I'm aware of, and I'll have to look into it further.
You know, it's interesting because offensive is certainly a subjective thing, because the person writing in seems to take exception to a pro-life bumper sticker, but somebody else would take exception to a pro-abortion bumper sticker. So, you know, political speech to some degree, we have to be pretty careful about trying to limit that.
Yeah, if we're talking about those things, people can be offended, but that's not something that would fall into a category that would be criminal. Something that was, calling for the extermination of a people, that's something that would be, falling into hate speech and promoting genocide and things like that.
Can the garbage truck pick up curbside in a bike lane?
Bike lane, they have very specific rules, and I think they can do immediate pickup and drop off. There's a bunch of things that were covered in a recent story, and parking's not my thing. That's an Aaron game. But there's certain things that for minimal stopping they can do. Bike lanes are a funny thing, and I don't want to give you bad information on that for specifically for garbage trucks though.
Yeah, I was reading that list. Like, you can't park in a bike lane unless you are dropping off a handicapped person and you're engaged in doing it. Unless there are some kinds of
exceptions.
What's the word? Exceptions is the word I was looking for. Thanks. Here is CJ from Toronto.
Are we allowed to drive in the left lane for not passing another vehicle? And if not, why are the rules not enforced? Because I do feel like it can help with our traffic congestion problems that we have.
So if the person in the left lane is traveling at the speed limit, they're doing the speed limit. There's nothing wrong with that because no one's supposed to be going above it. Now, if you're traveling under the speed limit, you should stay to the right, and you can be charged for unnecessary slow driving if you're impeding traffic, and that's a problem when someone's doing 20 under in the passing lane, as we often call it, in the left lane. It's an issue, and there are tickets that are issued for that.
All right, thanks very much for your call. We're going to continue with your calls here. Sean Shapiro is on TikTok every day talking to people on traffic questions. We dip in every couple of weeks, and you still have an opportunity here up until 10 o'clock at 416-872-1010, toll free 877-518-5151, and you can text me at 71010. Sean will answer your question on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
And we'll put them off the air so you don't have to hear them. I'll just listen in the background in case I get a cue. Awesome. Thanks to everyone who's listening, who's watching. So great to have you here. If you don't know who I am, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service, and I do the social media thing to help give you the information you want and need. If you don't already follow us, please do. And please share it with your friends, because sharing good information, they'll just love you all the more for it. If you want to call into the show, you can certainly call into Jerry Agar Show, 416-872-1010, and that is how you get onto the phone board so you can actually talk to us live. You can also text in 71010 and he'll read your question and we'll talk about it. Now, you can also, of course, ask us questions, use the Q&A function. That's what we'll be doing probably right after this chat, because we have so many questions. Let's see here. We've got. Okay. I got a bunch of questions. We'll pick one when he comes back, because he always says, what's TikTok talking about? So we'll do that. If you have questions on Instagram, use the Q&A function. TikTok, use the Q&A function. YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, you can just make comments like Ryan and Q have done. I see them all in one place. If you're on Twitter, I apologize in advance. Your questions do not get through. So use our Linktree Traffic Services to find our other platforms. Join us somewhere else so you can get your questions heard. And of course, if you're on our Linktree, you can also join our Volley Space. And that is a place where you can send me video, voice, or text, and we would love to hear from you. If you send me a video or voice question, I will, of course, play it on the air. I call it the air. Is it still the air when it's just TikTok and social media? But now, I've been introduced to all of this fantasticness of radio, and now I always say the air. So let's see here. Tyler says you have an amazing radio voice. It sounds like I sound like Alan Cross. You know, I've heard that before. Thank you very much, by the way, Tyler. I appreciate it. It is. I keep having to look up Alan Cross and listen to it. And of course, I don't hear what you're hearing because I sound different to me than I sound to you. It's that whole bone conduction thing. We all sound different to ourselves. Have you ever recorded yourself speaking, played it back for yourself, and went, "I can't believe that's what I sound like"? Well, that's what happens, at least for most of us. I'm pretty used to my voice. That being said, but comparing it to somebody else's is and Q agrees with Tyler that I sound like Alan Cross. So, a question for everyone out there: do I sound like Alan Cross, or is there somebody that I sound like more? Yeah, I don't know. Big things happening today. There is a competition that I've been competing in for a number of months now. It's called Radio Star 22, and it's an international radio talent search. It's not because I plan on leaving you, but it is an interesting thing to compete and challenge yourself to do new things. So I submitted myself as a contestant, and I've been participating in challenges, and I made the first cut into the top 25, and then so on and so forth. And now we're down to the top 5, and today they announce who wins. So I'm waiting. I'm waiting to find out. Did I win? Did I not win? Either way, I feel honored to have gotten to this point because internationally, I'm the only Canadian in the competition at this point, so it's really cool. On Air Coach is the company that's putting on this Radio Star 22. Hold on a second, I have to mute somebody because they're using memes for what is this? They're using memes in order to there we go, mute. Entire life. Bye bye. So I'm competing against all sorts of people from around the world, and it's fantastic. Really looking forward to finding out what happens. Okay. We have questions. We have some silly questions. We have some great questions. Those people that are asking political questions, I don't get involved with that stuff. That's not what this is about. Let's see here. Oh, apparently I have a deeper tone than Alan Cross, but I wonder what makes me sound like him then. Is the way I pronounce things? I don't know. My enunciation? We'll see. Okay, we have people looking for tips. We have people looking for all sorts of stuff. And we'll be back very shortly with Jerry Agar once again. We had a comment saying, I hate slow drivers. What is a slow driver to you? What constitutes slow? When so many people are traveling 20 and 30 kilometers over the posted limit, is a slow driver just a law-abiding citizen who follows the law and doesn't exceed the speed limit? Because I can see and do see a lot of people claiming that that's slow. When I travel at the speed limit, people pass me like I'm not even moving, which is scary because I don't think they understand just how much damage they'll do upon impact. A collision occurs, it's a bad day at the office. Someone says, drop a gear and disappear. Yeah, we know lots of people like you. Drop a gear and disappear is fun until you get arrested, isn't it? And that does happen.
And we're coming up.
All right, here we go. We're back with Jerry. I say that, and then there's silence. No, we'll be back up in just a few seconds.
This is Jerry Agar.
And I am joining the TikTok traffic cop in his regular daily broadcast on TikTok at Traffic Services. Sean Shapiro is a traffic services officer for Toronto Police. And let's go right back to the phones here, Sean. Here's Jim Kelly from Ajax. What have you got?
Hey, how are you? People tailgating. I do highway. I've been a transport driver for 33 years now. People's driving has got atrocious. Tailgating or following too close, okay? It's just gone nuts these days. People don't realize transports are governed in Ontario to 105 kilometers an hour. And people are constantly tailgating them and tailgating each other in my car. I drive 105 to 110 on the highway in my own personal vehicle, and people will actually get so close to me. If I ever put my brakes on, they're going to rear end me.
All right, I got the question, Jim. What's your answer, Sean?
The answer is there is a charge called Follow Too Closely. It's $110 and 4 demerit points, and we lay the charge. It's terrible, and you're right. The quality of driving has gone down considerably, and there's lots of reasons for it. People are just waiting longer and have less experience when they're behind the wheel, and some people are coming from other places and don't have the same rules. But it would be nice if people were more cooperative and friendly on the road.
Yeah, but part of the problem there is if you try to be a responsible driver and have the 2 seconds or something in between, somebody else says, well, there's a gap, and they they go into it. And then all of a sudden we're not at any kind of reasonable distance anymore.
People talk about going the right speed and getting rid of slow drivers. But if we were just courteous, left space between vehicles, encouraged and used zipper merging, we would get places a lot faster. It's a lot of the stop and go because of speeders that slow us down.
I've said to you before that at 5 o'clock in the morning, the traffic's zipping along sometimes at a pretty good speed on the Gardner coming into the city. Mm-hmm. The other day, I saw some people have pulled over, and I thought, well, number one, police are out there. Number two, what were they doing?
Oh, yeah. We have vehicles out in our fleet that are unmarked. Sports cars, we have trucks, SUVs, family vehicles. You don't know what's out there, and you pass the wrong one while you think you're getting to work a little sooner. You're going to slow your day down a lot. It's going to get expensive, too.
Here is David from Brampton. What's your question, David?
Thank you for taking my call. Just wanted to know, for the front headlights, is it supposed to be only white? Because sometimes I see cars with blue, green, even red lights up front.
Well, it's absolutely illegal to have red light to the front. The only two colors in Ontario that are permitted are yellow and white. That's it.
Okay. So how come police are not enforcing it? Because I see cars like that with red lights in the front.
Well, we do enforce it, but we have to see it in order to enforce it. And when we see it, we do take action. Now, not every vehicle that is seen by a police officer can be pulled over because that officer might be engaged in other activity that they can't just stop for the headlight ticket. But trust me, we see it. We want to deal with it when we see it. And when we can, we do.
Okay. So, again, we get these questions all the time. Why aren't police doing, because they've seen an incident of something and they don't see the person pulled over, so they assume you guys aren't doing anything?
Yeah, we're not everywhere all the time. We got a lot going on, and we are understaffed. So we do the best we can with the resources we have, and we have to focus on certain activities. We focus on the big four: speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving, because that's what leads to serious injury and death. And the other stuff, we get to that when we can. It's not the highest priority.
Okay, now you just mentioned impaired driving, and somebody sent in a question earlier this morning asking whether or not it is legal to drive down the street drinking an alcohol-free beer.
Alcohol-free beer is not an alcoholic beverage, so sure it is.
Right. Okay.
It might draw a lot of attention if it's in a green bottle, but you may end up getting pulled over.
And then the police officer will go, oh, I see. Okay. It's kind of irritating for the cop, I bet, but regardless, it is legal.
Absolutely.
All right, here is John from Mississauga.
Good morning. I was just wondering, I've seen people drive with a lot of highlights on all the time. Is it illegal for me to install LED light bars at the back of my car to flash them when your highlights are shining on my face?
Yes, it would be illegal for you to do that. It's also illegal for them to do it. Very often what you're seeing is actually people leaving their daytime running lights on, which are your high beams. They're directed poorly, but they are actually lower power. And it's illegal for them, but it's also illegal for you. That would be more aggressive on your part, and I would not suggest it.
Somebody just wrote in response to what we've been talking about here, Sean. As soon as I leave Ontario and enter the USA, driving becomes enjoyable again. No excessive speeding, no idiots cutting in and out, etc. It all comes down to enforcement. I don't know where you're driving in the United States, but I drive a lot in the United States. And believe me, you're wrong.
Well, I've had similar experiences, depending where you are, where there's state troopers at every exit. People do behave differently when they know they're going to get caught. And in some places, you get arrested for doing 20 miles over the speed limit. It's not a simple ticket. It's pay your bail at the side of the road or go to jail.
Sure, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of bad driving in the United States. Yeah,
absolutely.
All right. Howard from Scarborough. Howard,
hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Okay, so I'm driving north or south on University. I want to make a left-hand turn, let's say at Gerrard Street or Elm Street. And am I supposed to continue on through the median in the middle there where the parks are, where the hospital row is?
Yeah, you don't stop in the middle. If you get caught in the intersection at that point, you're expected to clear it. You can't just hang out there. You'd be getting a ticket for fail to clear a signalized intersection. So this is where it's a very large intersection, and you're making your turn. You have to complete your turn. You should only be entering the intersection at the point when you can guarantee you can get out the other end. So if you're stacking up to try and ensure you get through that light, you get stuck. That's a charge under the Highway Traffic Act.
All right, Howard,
I don't quite understand how you're going to get through because the traffic there on Hospital Row is absolutely ridiculous. And if you want to make a left-hand turn and you're waiting for cars, you're going to end up turning it when the light turns. You're going to end up turning when the light turns red.
Yeah, Howard, but if you're in a situation where you can't finish the turn when the light changes because there are a bunch of cars in front of you, you entered the intersection when you shouldn't have.
Okay, so you're telling me I'm supposed to go right through that intersection rather than sit there in the middle?
You either need to wait until you can go before entering the intersection, or if you're stuck in there and it changes because you've already entered the intersection, you're obligated to clear the intersection. Because otherwise you're going to block other traffic.
All right, so what does it mean, this person writes, if a cop flashes their lights at you?
I don't know what that cop is thinking when they're flashing you. You mean high beams or red lights? Or
You know what? That happened I was away this past weekend, Friday through Monday, in Manitoba for a funeral. And I was driving with my son. We were going down the highway. And the lights, a cop passed us going the other way, and he flashed his lights. And then a little bit more down the road, we saw another cop who had pulled somebody over.
That might be a secret communication that I'm not aware of. I couldn't predict or explain what that person was thinking or doing when they did it. There's no button for momentary flash, buy donuts or something. I don't know what it would mean.
Buy donuts. You said it, not me.
I know.
Here's Dan from the beaches. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm in the beaches right now. I actually commute from Whitby every day into Toronto for work. And my question is there some protocol? I drive on the 401, and there'll be a minor fender bender off on the shoulder. The OPP's taking care of it. There's a tow truck there. There's 3 fire trucks blocking 3 lanes of traffic, causing a 20-kilometer traffic jam. I know that it's a revenue source for them because when they arrive at a scene, they request the insurance of the vehicle so they can collect from the insurance company $750.
Okay, I got 30 seconds. What's your question?
I want to know why they have to block 3 lanes of traffic for a minor fender bender on a biggest highway in the world.
They block the road to keep people safe while they're busy clearing that road, and
how many strokes are they causing and stress? All these people sitting there being late for work.
Well, I'm kind of with Dan on this one.
You know what? I don't know what the scene looked like, and I can't tell you what every scene looks like. When I'm on scene and they're blocking the roads because I've asked them because we're busy working and we need to be safe, and not everybody slows down and moves over as they're required to by law. So they'll block those lanes to ensure the safety of the people working, and as soon as we can open it, we do.
We'll talk again on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Always a pleasure. Okay. We will say goodbye to Jerry and crew, and we are back to you. It's all about you, and we're in the Q&A. That was a busy one, and boy, that chap was really not happy about traffic. Big collisions, small collisions. At the end of the day, fire, police, we don't know if there was fluids on the road. There's so many factors as to why the road stays closed longer than people would like. But it's just the deal. It's just what happens when it comes to traveling in a big city. Sorry to say. So many people get upset. It's frustrating. Nobody likes sitting in traffic less than me. I got to tell you, there is absolutely no question. Now, I want to talk to you about something now that it's just us again. Let's have a quick chat about Vision Zero Enforcement Team. Yes, the men and women and officers of the Toronto Police Service who are engaged in traffic enforcement to make the roads safer for everyone. They do it by issuing tickets, not hugs. Oh, yes. It's tickets, not hugs. And why? Because they want to change the behavior. They want to stop people from driving in a way that leads to serious injury and death on our roads. And they're doing an amazing job at it. Not everybody likes getting tickets. But you know the surefire way to avoid a ticket from those folks? Don't break the law. Best tip I could ever give you. Want to avoid a ticket? Want to avoid increased insurance rates? Want to avoid scratching your car in a collision? Want to avoid hurting? There's so many things you could avoid by just following the rules. Yeah. Now, being attentive and paying attention and being a good driver, in addition to following the rules, a whole separate thing. Okay, where are they today? Because we tell you where they are every day, and you can watch that on any of our social media platforms. In fact, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter get daily posts telling you exactly where our team is going to be. A lot of officers doing focused enforcement. Today, they're in 11 Division and 42 Division. That means that those roughly 18 people are playing in Junction, Weston, High Park, Roncy, Malvern, Agincourt, Milliken, Rouge, Scarborough area. They're out there, and they're making a difference because people who live in those areas want to be safe. They deserve to be safe. And the people who are choosing to make it unsafe deserve tickets. So it may not be something that you agree with. However, it is what it is. All right, let's get to more of your questions. So much to talk about. There's so many great things happening. It's a good day. I like it. Not to mention the fact that I get to go to a restaurant that I was sick and tired of because I went there too often after things reopened. It's a buffet, and I'm going back there today with some friends and family, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm a little excited. Yeah, not gonna lie. All right, Ryan Pinn says people being late is not priority when there are vulnerable people on the road at risk. Absolutely, someone being late for work is no reason to speed. What is this? Josh sent me a picture. Please play this. What are your thoughts? Okay, we'll have to. I gotta watch it first. Hang on a second. All right. Please play the volley. Is it just me or Agar's color is kind of cranky? All right. Now I gotta play this. Okay. So we're gonna play a video. I gotta move this microphone. Let's see what we have here. We have a video of. I wonder if I can put this on screen. Give me a second and let me set this up. In fact, what we'll do is we'll circle back to this in a second because I want to actually play the video that is Sergeant Kerry Schmidt speaking. Can I do that easily, or do I have to hold my phone to the camera? Maybe that's what we do. Maybe we just do that. Okay. It might just be easier.
If you're driving on a multi-lane highway and there's traffic behind you and you're in the far left lane, you are required by law to turn out to the right when you're being overtaken.
Okay, this is interesting. Let's hear what let's put it on screen.
If you're driving on a multi-lane highway and there's traffic behind you and you're in the far left lane, you are required by law to turn out to the right when you're being overtaken. Even if that means you're going at the speed limit or above the speed limit, you are still required to turn out to the right to allow other traffic to pass.
Well, I have differing opinions on this. There is a section of law that says you cannot prevent passing, but I don't quite agree with that statement. But you know what? The joy of traffic is that we don't all have to agree. You do need to. You can't prevent passing. That's something that's in law. But all the people who are passing deserve tickets. So I'd be charging all the people passing. I wouldn't charge the person who's in the way for unnecessary slow driving while they're at or if they're at or above the speed limit, as Kerry says. I just wouldn't charge them. That's me. But he's the highway police. We're the Toronto police. On his highway, do what he says. Get out of the way and let people speed past you. If that's the advice he's giving. But my advice is don't speed. No one should speed. And then I still support getting out of the way because I want to be able to stop the person who's speeding. So if you let them stay in the left lane, I get to see them. And then I get to use my laser to confirm the speed, and then I stop them and charge them. But no one should be going over the speed limit, unless you're a police, fire, or ambulance who are lawfully exempt and permitted to exceed the speed limit in the lawful execution of their duties. Everybody else needs to slow down because they are going to hurt somebody. I'd actually like to see it where everyone drives the speed limit, and the people who don't want to drive the speed limit, they have frustration to the point of they stop driving because they shouldn't be on the road. Just me saying what I think. Can't help myself. All right. Good morning, Mr. Shapiro. I think I've mentioned before that I'm a volunteer firefighter, and you said there are many, many people who refuse to slow down or move over, and it's dangerous for everyone. The statistics we have are very upsetting. It is. That's Jace, by the way, currently in Saskatchewan, who's moving out to Vancouver, if I'm not mistaken. But the deal is that if you see a green light, if you're in a community that has volunteer firefighters, please, please, please pull over, let them pass. It's not a requirement under law. It's just you being a good human, helping other good humans who are trying to help other humans. There's a lot of helping here. People helping people, that's what all of us do. For emergency services, whether we're paid or we're volunteer, we're trying to help people do the right thing, move over. We don't have volunteer firefighters in Toronto, but I would have become one had it been an option. I thought about it. Was really disappointed to find out that it wasn't an option for me. Oh well. I always wanted to know what it was like to drive a fire truck. and one of our callers today is actually a firefighter called into the radio show. I thought that was pretty funny. Okay. Let's see here. Chase says, any vehicle traveling upon a roadway at less than normal speed of traffic shall be driven in the right-hand lane than available for traffic. It might be. So I don't disagree. Now we're talking about the nuances of the Highway Traffic Act. Yes, it does say that. However, it doesn't say. There's no specifics. Like, you have to assume that the law is talking about people who are lawfully following the law. So although it doesn't say that, specifically state that people are speeding and you should let them speed, we're assuming that the law only refers to legal activity. So while I appreciate what Chase is quoting, I don't think it really does. And Kyle Hawking, just jumping in, good morning to you, says he spoke to Kerry about this. Kyle is a journalist. He spoke to Kerry about this a few weeks ago and is concerned with people going faster and begin weaving through traffic and make the roads more dangerous. And absolutely, you're right on this, and I agree from that respect. And I have a number of friends with the OPP, and we've had this discussion, and that is the concern. By you not pulling over, these bozos who are speeding are now going to pass you on the right, and it creates an unsafe situation. But my problem with that is it rewards the bozo who's speeding and gives them a clear path of travel, as opposed to heavier enforcement, pull over every car and get them off the road. Give them enough demerit points that they stop driving or their insurance becomes prohibitive. But that's just me. The lack of enforcement or the inability for us to enforce the speeders is making for an unofficial speed limit above that of what is actually allowed by law. Okay, I want to get off this topic because it upsets me when people choose to go fast. Why? Because they're making the roads unsafe for everybody. They may not see it, they may not accept it, they certainly may not agree with me, but statistics don't lie. Speed kills. And those who say, well, speed doesn't kill, it's the rapid deceleration and impact. Yeah, but when you even have minor collisions at speed, they are more serious than when we're slower. Let's get off this topic because I don't want to bore the people who don't care about speeding. I want to answer traffic questions for everybody. Let's see here. Okay. I wish... what is this? I wish you would go back to focusing on one live. Oh, interesting. So when I'm only on TikTok and I get to the questions faster, I do appreciate that. That is definitely better for those that are on TikTok. Maybe we need to go back to multiple lives, but this is good. Kayla Dracona says greetings and salutations. Can you swerve around potholes? Interesting. A lot of people who want to protect their cars. Swerving bad. If swerving is the descriptor of how you're driving, I'm going to say no, you can't swerve. I mean, swerving is to avoid collisions. Swerving is a maneuver that's generally unsafe, but may be required in certain situations. If your swerving results in a collision or even careless driving charges, potentially putting people at risk. Slow driving and slowly maneuvering around a pothole, much better. Yeah. Because swerving is a high-speed maneuver, bad. Is it specifically illegal? Depends. I say that because there's no law that says thou shalt not swerve. But the swerving means you're making an unsafe maneuver. Okay. What is this? Can I use my Newfoundland license in Ontario? Is that what we're going with, NL? I'm terrible with acronyms today. If you have a valid license that's issued in a province in Canada or a state in the United States and in most places in the world, then yes, you could. Good morning. Oh, it's Ashton Stein, my favorite Manitoban, coming in saying that I'm his favorite officer. Hi, Ashton. It's been a while. It truly has been a while. I don't think I've heard or seen of you for a very long time. Josh says... Josh says, thank you. Thank you for the thank you, Josh. I don't want to read everything because I've been told I'm taking too long. I've got to go faster here. And you know what? And I can do fast. But then people say, why are you talking so quickly? Slow down. Okay. If U-turn sign posted, can we make 3-point turn? No. A U-turn, although generally depicted as a single maneuver, 3-point turn is still going to be a U-turn if you're obstructing traffic and doing this change of direction unsafely. Go and make a safe move. Do it 150 meters beyond that sign where it's lawful again. It has to be safe to do it. Otherwise, you're looking for a ticket. Okay. You know what? It's interesting. The already not busy Instagram is even less busy today. I'm just not a fan of the gram. I'm sorry. It does weird things. Yeah, 3 people watching, but we're here for you, for the 3 people. I'm not against you, but I do have an issue with the platform. I don't get it. Maybe I will one day, but I don't get it now. All right. Oh, Oh, Ashton has moved to Alberta. So now he's my favorite Albertan. He wants me to clarify and specify. And where's my Q&A button? Hang on, cancel. There we go. So I stand corrected. I have to remember that because, when I met Ashton, he was a Manitoban. All right. We covered this one. Let me remove it. Why am I getting interference suddenly? Go away, interference. Top of my tires are, what is this? The top of my tires are going 2 times the limit. Interesting. Is it hard to get into Canada with a DUI? If you are trying to visit with a criminal conviction, Canada can refuse entry, and the United States can refuse entry to Canadians trying to go the other way. Criminal convictions do make it difficult for people. So the best thing is to do is avoid it. Love from Australia. We have Winfield Golds. Hello to Australia. Thank you for the love. We have family. I have family in Australia, so it's always nice to hear from down under. And I was talking about going to Australia next year. There's discussion that I might be in Australia for November. Possibly, maybe, we'll see. What is this? Do you have to signal in a turning lane? Yes, you do. You need to signal every movement of your motor vehicle. Boom, boom, boom. The criminal conviction is DUI for marijuana in Australia. It's the same thing here. Well, I shouldn't say that. Oh, you're saying marijuana is legal in Canada now, but the use of it during the operation of a motor vehicle is illegal. So you can consume marijuana if you're not driving in most situations. There's obviously rules around it, but if you're of age, it's now legal. So I wonder, is that not the case in Australia, and they just charge you a DUI even if you're not operating a motor vehicle? Because I don't know how to interpret your comment. What is this? Why is the G test so tough now? Is it tough? I thought it was getting easier, not harder. So I can't comment because I was under the impression it was far too easy, and that's My tea is less hot than it was 45 minutes ago. What is this? Do cops appreciate the thin blue line? Well, the thin blue line is a concept suggesting that all that stands between, good and bad essentially is a thin blue line protecting the good from the bad. It's being misused and misinterpreted, and I don't know what context you're asking about, but just in terms of the origin of it, it was the suggestion that the police were the only thing protecting the good people from the bad, from the evil. So in that respect, I think it's a great message. Now, the way it's being perverted to suggest other things is not the meaning that I derive from it. Okay. Oh, my goodness. 2 mattresses strapped on car roof. Is that legal? Depends. People lose their minds when I say depends, but it depends. It depends on what your means of attachment are. Is it secure? If it's secure, then it can be legal, but it has to be secure. What's the test for that? Rated straps. You can't lose it. Otherwise, it's an insecure load. If it's not properly, people use string, not a secure, not a rated means of attachment, not secure. I would charge you. I'd pull you off the road. It's unsafe. Bungee cords, not secure, not safe. And then I've seen people who actually put straps in their windows. I've seen people driving. You can't see my hands because I'm on a vertical video. YouTube saw me being ridiculous, but I've seen people with their hands holding a mattress on the roof. That's insecure load. Obviously, your hand will not do very good to secure it to the roof when you're, making impact to the vehicle in front of you. Okay. Eric Jessen wants to know: Can you fight a driving without consideration, even though the roads were wet and my truck kicked the rear end out and I got it back under control? Are you doing stunt driving? There's some missing words here. You got no text limitations on volley, so you can ask me in full sentences. But it might just be you typing too quickly. So if you just slid your tires out for a second, that's not necessarily stunt driving. The officer may interpret it as that. They can charge you based on it, but you might have a defense in court. That's up to you how you proceed. But if you were driving down the road and your back end kicked out and you were essentially driving sideways, drifting down the road, that, my friend, would be stunt driving, and I would support that in court, and I would have a good time describing, because you should have just slowed down. You regain control, you pull over, you drive normally. But if you're doing a kilometer like that or 500, there's reasonable and unreasonable. It depends on what was being observed by the officer. So, yeah. Okay. And yes, Friday we will be doing a moment in silence for Remembrance Day. Thanks for asking, Chase. And yeah, I don't, is there a joke that I need to understand with, okay, so Chase is giving me a daily reminder to do a traffic jam with Kerry Schmidt. We are doing something where we were talking about it on Monday when I saw him. We are going to do something. I'm trying to set up an actual date in advance of our winter driving messaging that's coming out. We're going to do a podcast together. What's my favorite vacation destination? The family-friendly version of me is Disney. I love cruising. That's my favorite place to go and my favorite place to cruise with. That's not an endorsement of them as a company. I got kids. They like the Disney stuff. And it's not just about me. It's about we. Dan Hills says, if we see an unsafe vehicle on the road or highway, who should I call? 911 or does anyone care? Tire coming apart, ball tires, race tires, something like a plastic part or fender coming off, or a wheel wobbling. Dan, fantastic question, and the answer is it depends. I hate telling. I have anxiety about saying depends, and now I get the Ryan Pin joke. But the deal is that if it's something that is imminent danger, people's lives are at risk, a tire's coming off, it's disassembled, it's going to result in a collision, and whether the occupant of that vehicle or the people around it are in harm's way because of that, it's 911, baby. It's 911. That is an urgent call for help. If it's something that the guy's fender is a little floppy, or it's you're concerned that you might be able to see the floor through their rust holes or what have you, that's a non-emergency call, in my opinion. Now, if you interpret it differently and you believe that is urgent response required, then fill your boots. Call 911. It's going to be your interpretation of the events. I can't tell you what. And how to interpret what you see. Obviously, if you see someone that you think is impaired, distracted and all over the road, truly could be having a medical episode, 911. But if you see somebody with tinted windows and you can't see them, yeah, it's against the law, but don't call 911 for that. That's not something that you should be doing. Okay. I've been updated from the CEO of No to the CEO of It Depends. I don't know. Once I start saying something, sometimes it sticks, and it's a problem. Though I want to stop saying it, I find myself saying it even more. Okay. What do we have here? Oh, silliness. The party never ends is sending apparently love messages. Okay. There's different rules. Are there different rules in different provinces? Yes, every province and state makes their own traffic code. In the Ontario, it's the Ontario Highway Traffic Act, and the rules may differ. Now, the broad strokes are the same. The basics of the rules of the road remain the same, which is how we are allowed to drive in other provinces, in other states, in other countries, because, again, driving is, for the most part, driving. Things about technical requirements for vehicles, tinted windows, license plates, mechanical things, emissions things, those are going to vary based on where you are. But and whether or not certain things may have a higher penalty in other places. But for the most part, it's the same. Can I drive retired cop cars? If you own one, if it's insured, if it's safe and, for the road. And if it says police on it, it's a problem. If it has lights and sirens, it's a problem, and you can be charged. Additionally, if you're posing as a police officer in any vehicle, you could be charged. The deal is that a police car, for the most part, is just a car. It has lights. It's still just a car. You take those lights off, it's back to being a car. When you say retired police car, there must be more to it that you're looking for, but I don't know what it is. Now, in certain provinces, they're making it illegal. I think is it Nova Scotia that's restricting the sale or purchase of retired police vehicles and equipment? So it might be prohibited there. But if you were registered elsewhere and traveled through there, it wouldn't be against the law. Anyways. Okay. What's the time frame from cannabis to driving? It depends on how long it takes for you to get rid of the THC in your system. Because obviously, if you have a 0 THC, 0 drugs, 0 alcohol requirement on your license, 0 is a very specific number. And if you're above it in any way, shape, or form, you're going to get charged. Ryan coming back, he's in Nova Scotia and saying that he thinks it's mostly about owning police uniforms rather than vehicles. I thought there was something about, maybe it's about having replica vehicles or having stickered up vehicles, which would be obvious. If you had a Toronto police car that said Toronto Police on it, you're going to have problems driving that around. And why would you want to pose as the police? Not everybody likes the police. And as a civilian posing as the police, you might find yourself in a bad situation. Right, and Ryan says you cannot make a police car look like a police car. But then is it a police car? Okay. Can you park on the wrong side of residential street? It's an offense unless you have, in Ontario, is it Ontario or Toronto? If Aaron was sitting there, I'd ask for confirmation. But I believe the exemption is if you have an accessibility permit. So if you have a wheelchair permit, you need access for safety, you're permitted to park on the wrong side of the road. Only with that permit. Otherwise, it would be an offense. And yes, I did know what you mean, Ryan. Let's see here. Bald and no tread left. If it's a bald tire and you think it's going to cause a collision, I think you should call. And Jace wants to know about race tires. Are slicks road legal? No, they're not. Race tires are race tires and they're only for the track. Okay. Yeah, no. I was going to say I have some great pictures of track tires that are spent after at Calabogie racetrack. I was up there visiting a friend of mine who's currently, I don't know if he's back from Paris yet, but Travis Hill Racing. We went up to check out some of the cars. You may have seen the TikTok video where I'm squished into a very small open concept. It's a project car. I don't know what it's called. It's a very fast Hayabusa based prototype race car. I can't remember everything he told me. There's a lot of information. Diabetes lover has lots. I hate to do this to you because you're entertaining, but you're spamming silliness. So I'm muting you, my friend. Are two-way stops just as four-way stops? What do you mean? It's first come, first serve, first to arrive, first to drive. Same situation. But if you have something else you're trying to get at, please be more specific. A little more specific. Do you have any advice for driving anxiety? I try to use best judgment, but people speeding around me, etc., stresses me out. I'm from Northern Ontario, but recently moved to the GTA. Well, welcome, first of all, Joel. And I can totally appreciate what you're saying. My father-in-law never drove on the highway. He hated it. He was terrified of it. So he didn't do it. And as a result, he didn't go anywhere. But he took the surface roads, took him a lot longer. You do what you can. Be comfortable. There's nothing forcing you to be on the highway. If you don't have to be there, take other routes. And this is where we talk about being cooperative. People don't understand that they're dangerous and an excessive driving behavior impacts people. There's people like you who deserve to be able to use the roads, but due to the behavior of others, they're freaking you out. And it's reasonable because what they're doing is dangerous and you acknowledge it being dangerous. But I don't have a device to make it better other than do your own thing, man. Slow down. Ride your own ride, drive your own drive. When we talk about riding in groups and, you go out with people and certain people are more aggressive as a motorcyclist, say, ride your own ride. Let you go on. I'll get there when I get there. And that's the kind of attitude you need. You got to just ride and drive to your own comfort level, obviously while maintaining all the laws. Why radar detector are illegal in Ontario but not in Saskatchewan? I think they should be illegal everywhere. I don't understand why anyone would make a radar detector legal. Because what is it for? It is for temporarily modifying someone's behavior based on knowing they'll get caught. And then they get past the point where they see the police officer and go, I can drive like a bozo again. I can put lives at risk again. So why would any province, state, or country permit someone to have a tool that would basically mean they're going to speed with less concern about getting caught? It's silly. And I think the law should be changed, that they should be prohibited. And not only should you just lose the item, because we have search and seizure authority in Ontario for these items. It's a $170 fine and a 2 demerit point charge, but I think we should make that way higher because the person who has that in their vehicle is clearly choosing to speed and conduct themselves in a dangerous way. Now, there's also jammers. Jammers are also prohibited and fall into the same area of law. I like saying that. Okay. Let me go here and mute silliness. Can I have a shot of alcohol and still drive if I have a G? Well, you don't. You're getting into a little bit too wide of a question. Can you have more than 0 alcohol in your body if you have a G and you're older? than 21. So you have to be 22 and above, can have more than 0, but you have to have less than 0.05 to be able to legally operate a motor vehicle in Ontario, and you have to have less than 0.08 to avoid criminal charges. So 0.049 and below, although you can still be impaired, don't trigger a warrant range suspension if you blow. And additionally, isn't criminal, but does, 0.05 to 0.079, my God, too many numbers. That's a warrant range suspension. If you get one of those, you get a 3-day suspension. If you get a second one within 10 years, you get a 7-day, and it escalates. Bad things happen. You have to take some schooling and so on. When we get to 0.08 and above, you're going to get arrested. So at the end of the day, just don't drink and drive, don't drug and drive, don't drive impaired, however you want to word it. At the end of the day, it's not worth the risk. And like I said, impairment can occur at any point. So don't have alcohol in your system, because you might have, either have a reaction differently than your friends, and you may be more impaired than you think you are, even though your blood alcohol content is not above the legal restricted area, or the category of the range. That's the word I'm looking for. Infographic. Oh, okay. Darren Fair says radar detectors are illegal in Saskatchewan for commercial vehicles. I did not know that. So civilians can drive silly, but commercial vehicles can't. Not cool. Do officers ever sit outside bars and catch people leaving? I don't know. I'm sure that happens, and why wouldn't it? If you know that bars are where people are choosing to consume alcohol, if they get in their cars, I mean, you can be arrested getting into your car. You don't have to actually drive it. Just being drunk, walking to your car with the intention to drive, people have been arrested. So I don't know where it's gone in court. I've never arrested somebody like that, but interesting. Are e-bikes, e-scooters illegal to ride in Toronto? Fantastic question. I'm glad you asked it. Thank you, because it's a big topic that bugs me. And I'm going to post something on Instagram and Twitter later based on your bringing this topic up. So thank you again. Austin, the deal is that e-bikes that conform to the Ontario legislation rules surrounding e-bikes are legal to use in Toronto. But the ones that are modified, that exceed 32 kilometers an hour on a flat surface, that under electric power, or combined for that matter. If you can pedal and electric over 32 kilometers an hour, you'd still be violating. You cannot not be capable of exceeding 32 kilometers an hour on a flat surface. If you're over 120 kilos, not you, but the bike, and if you have a motor that is more than 500 watts. Those three things are the basics for what makes it legal, as long as you're under those, at or below. As soon as you're 33 kilometers on a flat surface, you're a motorcycle. You're going to need license, ownership, and insurance, and it's also not legal for the road, so you're a prohibited vehicle. E-kick scooters, I think that's what you're talking about when you say schoolers. You might mean e-bikes that look like scooters, and if that's the case, that's all under the e-bike side of things. If you're talking about e-kick scooters, the ones that look like a skateboard with 2 tires and a handlebar, but they're stand-up devices, those are permitted in some places in Ontario, but not in Toronto. Neither are the unicycles that are electric or skateboards that are electric. Those are all prohibited devices. Cannot be operated on the road. We see them all the time, but they're all prohibited. They could be ticketed. They're also being charged for unsafe vehicle when they're involved in collisions, because vehicles without steering or brakes or any kind of safety measures, well, they just don't qualify to be on the road. So those electric skateboards that can do like 40 kilometers an hour or 40 miles an hour, they're ridiculous and they shouldn't be on the road. The ones that are unicycles, I have some gruesome footage that I can't share with you, but I can describe as somebody getting hit and watching their legs go. It just bad day at the office for them. Those are unsafe vehicles for the road. And if you take an e-kick scooter that is covered in, like in Mississauga, they're legal. Ottawa, they're legal. You take that vehicle and the e-kick scooter, and you put a seat on it, instantly a motorcycle under the Highway Traffic Act, or a motor vehicle. I would describe it as a motorcycle. No pedals. It's not an e-bike. It's a seated device, no longer meeting the requirements under the pilot project that allows them in the opt-in or in municipalities that opt in. A user wants to know if they can. I don't even know how to describe what that comment said. Okay. What happens when a vehicle flees? Do you chase? Depends. I know. I'm the CEO of Depends today. I hope I get shares in the company because that they're a money making business. But the deal is, if someone takes off, it obviously escalates things to criminal. And depending on what the reason for the original stop or what's at stake and what the risk to public safety is at the time and place, yes or no, depends. Yes, I'm going to get a new. I'm going to come up with a new logo, or it's going to be me with like a package of Depends or something, because Ryan Pinn's sending a package of yeah, I can't help myself. Even if it's making fun of myself, I'm all over it. Okay. If you don't know who I am, and I've been blabbing for a long time without reintroducing myself, mentioning the fact that my name is Sean Shapiro and I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, I go live on social media to talk about stuff and things that you want to know about. And sometimes we go way down the rabbit hole. Like today, we've gone so far off topic and flow. But you know what? I'm having fun, and I hope you are too. If you don't follow us, please do. We do this Monday to Friday from 10 to 11. Today we started at 9:30 because we were joining the Jerry Agar Show on News Talk 1010. That was a blast, always is. And we were taking calls from the public, from Jerry's audience. Actually, there was a lot of phone calls today. I don't think there was a lot of text. Maybe there was a couple. Can a right-hand driver drive a left-hand vehicle? Yes, and vice versa. If you're licensed to drive an automobile, if you travel to another country and rent, or someone from England were to travel here or Australia, or whoever is right-hand drive, you could drive here. Is it risky? Is it different? I rented a vehicle in Australia when I was there last, and it was awkward. I got used to it really quickly because at the end of the day, driving is driving, but it is awkward. And I also rented a motorcycle when I was in Australia. When I was in Queensland, I rented a bike, and that's even worse because you need to, being in a car on the wrong side of the road, or wrong side of the car, you are reminded that something's different. On a motorcycle, it is easy to forget where you were riding, and you could have a close call. In fact, I remember a story at Americade when I traveled years ago, and a chap from Australia had shipped his motorcycle to I don't know where he flew into, but he was in New York State, and he, on the last day of the event, after riding all over the place, he drove into the wrong side of the road and was killed. So, very sad. What are the rules for kids in the front seat? Well, rules, there really aren't any. And I say that because it's not illegal for a child to be in the front seat. It is unwise. It is not suggested. It is not the best practice. We say backseat till 14. 14 years old, you're big enough. You've developed your skeletal system, or some medical kind of version of that, to sustain impact and injury better than you would be when you're younger. So 13 years old, backseat, 14-year-olds, front seat. Obviously, you're going to make your own decision, and parents are going to make your own decision, but that's what the professionals say, and I like to believe that they know stuff because they're doctory people. Now, in terms of being out of a car seat, being out of a booster seat, being the stages, that is actually in law when you can transition through the ranges. You also have to conform, making sure that the car seat can maintain, you're in the appropriate car seat or child restraint for the child. And then when you get into or you get to the point of getting out of a booster, they must be at least 8 years old, 80 pounds, or 4'9" in height. Any one of those three would meet the legal requirement, but may not be actually what's safest. So SIPSAC.org is the best place to go check out for tips and information about that. I would suggest them any time, day or night. Their website is magic. Do I have to call police for a very minor collision? We don't say accident here. Collision. It depends. No, I'm sorry. I can't help myself now. The deal is that if you can call police to get direction, but if the total damage amongst all vehicles involved in the collision is under $2,000, it's considered unreportable unless there is injury or damage to public property or property, private property. If you're talking about, a minor fender bender, it's a scratch. It's believed by all parties that it's not $2,000 combined. Then exchange information and be on your way. If it's any question in your mind that it might be over $2,000 between you, and I can tell you a scratch on a Mercedes could be $5,000. Go to a collision reporting center, assuming that nobody is being transported to a hospital, assuming there's no criminality, assuming that everyone has license and insurance and exchanges it without fighting. Then go to a collision reporting center. If there's any question, if you think there's drugs or alcohol or a lack of insurance, call police. We will come. We will investigate. And obviously, if someone's transported by ambulance to hospital, that's a different story. That's going to be an at-scene collision investigation. And yes, you got to call. What do we got here? What is the fine for driving on a T sticker for a year? Well, your your vehicle is unsafe, more than likely. I gotta re-up my T and not burn myself in the process. I don't think my tea is going to be hot. So far, I did not spill. So if you have an invalid a license that is, or a license plate that is invalid, it's not valid. But when it's a temporary sticker, it's because you didn't provide safety, so your vehicle is unsafe. We'd be pulling your license plate, and you'd have to get safety in order to get it back. And there's probably other charges, but it depends. If your vehicle, I said it again, it depends because it depends on what's wrong. If the vehicle had a valid safety and the plate was expired, then you wouldn't lose the plate. You'd just be invalid plate. I don't think there's anything else to go on there. Cannabis about is zero. Why is alcohol different? It's not. If you have a zero BAC requirement, it's also zero drugs. If you are over the age of, you have to be impaired with the cannabis. It's not about zero cannabis. Zero cannabis is if you have a condition on your license to have no drugs or alcohol. Okay, what is this? All right, let's go back here for a second. And Ryan, I'm so many different places as a source of conversation and chat. So Ryan Pin was saying maybe consider some lessons. This is talking about the person who has some anxiety for driving. He suggests consider having some lessons. There are great instructors that can help, and you get used to the environment. So that's for our friend who wrote here, Joel. So Joel, if I'll respond on Ryan, you need to join our Volley space, and you could respond to Joel directly. Go to Volley. Go to trafficcop.ca and jump onto, if you don't mind, jump onto Volley, and you can give that great advice directly to Joel. Okay, now let's see here. Chase says, last night, Waterloo Regional Police stopped someone for going 160 and a 60, and it's their second stunt charge since last year. What are their penalties now? Well, as a second, I'm going to look it up because I don't want to give you bad news or bad info. Oh, that's the wrong thing. That's a game. I don't want to launch a game. I want my my catalog of information and stuff. Stunt. Best app ever. Can't endorse it, but I love it. If you're watching and you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. All right. So, on a second conviction. So, okay, let's back it up. Every person who contravenes subsection 1 is guilty of an offense and on conviction is liable to a fine of not less than $2,000 and not more than $10,000 or to imprisonment for a term not more than 6 months. 66 months would be interesting. 6 months or to both. So you can get the fine and you can go to jail. And in addition, the court shall make order suspending the person's driver's license on a first conviction. I can't speak today. On a first conviction under this section for not less than 1 year and not more than 3 years. On a second conviction under this section for not less than 3 years and not more than 10 years. And on a third or subsequent conviction under this section indefinitely. It's a lifetime. Indefinitely is forever. Boy. So that person would be on his way to his lifetime. But I have a feeling that person wouldn't stop even if they didn't have a license. That's someone who needs to go to jail. And by the way, stunt driving is stunt driving, but 160 and a 60, if there was people anywhere near there, I'd be looking at criminal charges for dangerous driving. Justin Nakatsuka. I'm going to try and work on your name. I'm going to eventually say that properly. I would like it if Sean could close the show each day with a user-contributed line of dialogue for his Optimus Prime voice. He provided his thing. Do I wait? I'll wait 20 minutes and I'll read that. Yeah, I'll try it. I'll do the Optimus Prime thing because why not? I mean it's yeah. I think we can make that happen. Jay says. Jace has offered to get a clicker. A counter, the ones that Costco people use when you walk in, and he says he's gonna count how many times I say depends. That might be the only way to get me to stop it, Because once I start, it's a snowball problem. It just gets worse and worse. What do you do if you get involved in a hit and run? If you're the victim of a hit and run situation, call police. Obviously, this is where I've got to tell you that I endorse the use of dash cams. Nothing's better than having evidence of what happened. So the more cameras, the better. If you think about Teslas and many new vehicles, they come with cameras built in, and you can catch all that great stuff. You want to catch the bad guys. And yes, I am calling people who flee from collisions bad people. They may be freaked out. They may be scared, but it's no reason to leave somebody else holding the bag. And a friend of mine just had a situation where he showed up to his business yesterday, and it was all smashed up because there was a failed to remain collision where someone drove into the front of his store. When someone leaves, obviously you put them in a situation where now they're paying the deductible and it's all coming out of their pocket to save themselves. They don't want to be responsible. It's disgusting. Okay. What do we have? Why is there no enforcement of dark cover plate? We got that, I think, yesterday, too. Same question or similar question. The answer is there is enforcement. It's just not the highest priority because we're looking for the behaviors that lead to serious injury and death on our roads. We're looking for people who are going to kill or harm people. The license plate cover, not cool, especially when people get involved in collisions or they're breaking the law and putting people at risk. But it's the next tier down. I would pull over everyone I saw with one if I was on the road right now, assuming I wasn't catching somebody for something else first. So it's whatever crosses my path would get the ticket. I wouldn't say I'm going to let that person go. I'd still write the ticket. But my focus is going to be on the big four. What does it mean when a cop flashes their light? You must have been the caller on the show. I have no idea what someone flashes. I don't know. If I turn on my lights, I'm pulling you over. It's the only reason I put my lights on. Or maybe it's to say, hi, I see you using your phone. But I would just pull you over for using your phone. I don't know why they would do that. I'm speculating. Quick list of Canadian traffic laws for Americans. I can't. It's the Highway Traffic Act. You can go look it up. It's free access to it. It's enormous. The book is that thick. So there's no quick list. It is the longest. It is a law book. It is misery. The fact that I remember so much of it is just because I've been tortured by it. No, I actually really like traffic law. It's interesting, but I've learned it because of continuously looking things up. Because I've been involved with writing the tickets and fighting it and defending my decisions and my what's the word I'm looking for? My use of it in on the road. I needed to become an expert at it, so I did. And I read it a lot, and I still look it up because things change and develop, and I need to know. So I can't give you a quick list. It doesn't exist. How sure that cop wants me specifically to pull over? Usually, I'm directly behind you, and the lights are still on, and you haven't pulled over, and then the siren comes on. And then usually I'm waving out the window or pointing. And sometimes I'll pull up to the driver window. And as I'm doing this, I'm making sure that I remember exactly how many charges I've seen up until that point. Because the one charge of speeding may also include your license plate cover and may also, you're escalating things. Pull over. When in doubt, pull over. You're just going to make your day worse by not. And chances are, or if we don't want to pull you over, we will get past you as quickly as possible. I'm kidding to some degree. We're only going to write you tickets for things you've actually done, but the could have been a ticket and a warning, but you increase the frustration level, you're probably going to get a lot of tickets and no warnings. What is this? We fish light to warn you when responding to another call. Do we? I don't know. I turn them on and go where I'm going, and I only turn lights on to get people out of my way. Traffic clearing. All right. Oh, I saw something happening here. I have a two-part question. Let's see here. Okay, Jay says, I have two parts to my question. For one, you have mentioned in the past that if my Saskatchewan vehicle visited Ontario, you could take my plates for unsafe vehicle. Why is this allowed if taking the plates is not practiced in Saskatchewan? And for part two, if you take the plates for someone with custom plates, are they able to get it back? Apologies for the long question. So the deal is that if you're operating a motor vehicle in Ontario and your vehicle is unsafe for the road, we need a way of preventing you from continuing to drive. it's, with stunt, we have the ability to impound your vehicle, take the whole vehicle, plates and all, but we need to ensure you stop using the plate because it shouldn't be on the road here. And those plates get returned to the ministry, and whether you get them back or not, I don't know. That's going to be something that you'd be dealing with your ministry, because they'll be returned to your ministry. We don't just seize them and hold on to them. They get returned through the MTO to your MTO, to your equivalent. But the reason we can take them is because we got to get you off the road. It's to prevent you from continuing to not follow the law. And just taking your plates, like, chances are we're going to avoid taking your plates. Like if it was tinted windshield and you're driving, it's unsafe because of that. Probably tell you to either about face and get out of the province or take it off your window right now. I'm speculating because I would just take your plates, but somebody else might give you an opportunity, because if it's unsafe, it's unsafe, and to me, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. How do you test if someone is high while driving? Well, there's a roadside device for marijuana. We have a roadside device for drugs. We have roadside sobriety testing by qualified officers. You do a battery of tests based on your performance. They will make a further demand for a drug recognition expert, or if it's believed that you're under the influence of alcohol, it would be a breath demand to bring you back to a breath technician. If you do a drug, if it's believed that it's drugs, and you do a little show with the drug recognition expert, they can actually narrow down with tremendous accuracy what family of drugs you're on. So there's a number of different ways. Okay, we're going to mute Hannah because Hannah's sending silly stuff. Is it okay for a cop to speed even when not on a call? Yes. And I'll tell you why. And this drives people bananas. If I am on a highway and everyone's doing 130, how on earth am I supposed to go and check on anybody that's doing 130? Because technically I'm now speeding. If I can't speed, I can't speed. So I'm given the authority and ability to be exempt from that, so I can exceed the speed limit. Now, what am I doing while you're doing 130? Am I pulling you over immediately? Maybe I'm pulling up beside you to see if you're on your cell phone, because now I can do the speed and the cell phone. Maybe I need to get ahead of you in order to see what the person in front of you is doing. There's so many reasons. But yes, that's not a call. That is a purpose, and it's a lawful one. So that would be an example of when I can exceed the speed limit. But let's say everyone's doing the speed limit. Nobody is a bad driver. Nobody is putting lives at risk by way of speeding. How do I get in front of the person I'm behind? As a police officer who is now trying to check to see if cars in front of the car I'm at is using their cell phone, wearing their seatbelt, drinking alcohol, or what have you, any number of things. I need to be able to exceed the speed limit because everyone behind me knows where I am. So slowing down to let you pass me doesn't allow me to enforce laws. I have to move into the future. Time travel. I need a sound effect for time travel. Can you ride a dirt bike, quad on the side of the road? No. Well, quad runners, ATVs, if they're licensed and insured and ridden by a licensed driver, there are places that allow their use on the side of the road up to a certain speed, but that's going to be municipality based, and it's not Toronto. Dirt bikes, however, can never be. Okay, my old boss just said he heard me on the radio, and he wanted to say that I did a great job. Well, thank you very much. That's 555. Okay. Can a G2 driver drive a loaner from a car dealership? Yes. You still have to maintain all the conditions under your license, but you can drive a loaner. You're a probationary driver. You're not a learner. You're a probationary driver. And I say you're not a learner. It's part of the learning process, but a learner permit requires you to be supervised by a licensed, qualified G-class driver with 4 years experience. That is not the situation with a G2, and you can borrow a car. Now, if you borrow the car from someone you live with, different story. You might have to be on the insurance policy, but that's the only difference. Can I drive a friend's car alone without my insurance? You must be able to provide insurance for the vehicle. It doesn't have to be your insurance. It has to be insurance for the vehicle. But you can, if you're a licensed driver who's qualified to drive that class of vehicle, you can borrow a car. It's funny how those two questions blended together. Let's see here. Is it okay for me to pass a cop car? As long as you're not speeding to do it, then yes. How many drinks is too much to drive? Any amount of alcohol, in my opinion, is too much to drive. You shouldn't be consuming alcohol or drugs and then choosing to get behind the wheel of a car, because impairment can happen at any moment. At any moment. Just impaired. Look at that. No, you can't. Everyone's different. Everyone deals with alcohol differently. One person may react poorly to alcohol. Somebody might react better. They may go to the bathroom and flush it faster than somebody else who takes longer. So I can't give you a number and a time frame because everybody is different. What is this? Ooh, what's your favorite cop character from a movie? For a long time, it was RoboCop. I liked that character when it first came out. That was awesome. Who's my favorite cop character? I love Commissioner Reagan from Blue Bloods. He's like the best police character. From a movie, I don't know. I liked Riggs from what's it called, from Lethal Weapon originally, although not anywhere near what real policing looks like. I did like the character. It was fun movies until I realized he was not a nice person as an actor, as a human. Okay. I still like the character, though. Can you check your phone while being at a red light? The answer is no. Using your phone at a red light is still driving. Driving is when you cannot use your handheld communication device. You would be eligible for a ticket of $615 that would come with 3 demerit points on your first conviction. And $615 fine. Did I say it in that order? Or that? Yeah, don't do it. Suspension, too. You get suspension on conviction. 3 points, 3-day suspension. Biggest mistake drivers make after a collision. Thank you for calling it a collision, Diana. The number one thing that I think people do is forget to record all information. Like, take pictures. You got a phone. Everyone's got a phone now with a great camera. Take as many pictures as possible. Record all the data as possible. You want to ideally know who you were involved with. Get the telephone number of the person that you were involved in a collision with. And if there's any question as to value, before people make decisions to just drive away, if you think it's over $2,000, it's reportable. If there's anyone who's injured, a lot of people say, I don't want to go to the hospital. If you think you need to go to the hospital, go to the hospital. That's not telling you to go to the hospital all the time. Don't waste resources. But a lot of people walk it off and think they're fine, and they're not fine. But I think all of those things make up the worst things. Also, if you're in a collision, people are often in a rush to get out and walk around the collision. That is dangerous. Stay in your motor vehicle unless it's on fire. You don't be in a rush to get out of it. You want to look around, but you want to make sure the environment is safe around you. And first thing you do, in my opinion, is call police. That's just me. How do you report someone anonymous who is high? There's no anonymous reporting for high. You got to call police, and we're going to want to know who you are to make a complaint. You can make a report online, but truly, if you're concerned, I mean, you can call. Actually, you could call Crime Stoppers. That's anonymous. That'll work. Do you like driving? I love driving, and I love riding. I'm a motorcycle rider, and I've been driving and riding since I was 16. So yeah, it's a long time. I'm old. I love it. I wouldn't know what to do if I didn't ride. The only thing I want to do now is fly. I want to learn how to fly a helicopter. It's not going to happen, but I want to. Okay. In a roundabout, does pedestrian have right of way? Here is a funny thing that nobody seems to understand. Pedestrians don't necessarily have the right of way anywhere unless they're lawfully in the intersection. So whether it be a roundabout or a crosswalk, unless they're in the intersection lawfully, they don't have the right of the way. Pedestrians just walk up and walk into intersections. I got the right of way. Well, that's not the case. So if they're already in the intersection when the car arrives, they're lawfully there, they have the right of way, whether it be a roundabout or a crosswalk. But it drives me bananas when people say right of way. Nobody understands this concept, or at least you might, but most people don't. Who's at fault in a parking lot collision? The person who caused the collision. Now, people get messed up with this no fault thing. Truth is, you go to your insurance company afterwards, and they go to their insurance company afterwards, and no charges are laid in private property. However, I guarantee you what's happening behind the scenes is the insurance company is looking at the report and whatever video they can get, and they are determining fault on their own. And they, amongst themselves, are rating you and the other involved participants at different levels of fault. Yeah, it's a thing. Someone says, Ming says, why do cops not respect laws that they enforce? I absolutely respect laws that I enforce. And many of my colleagues will tell you that they don't write things that they don't want to write because they don't agree with it. That's not my thing. I write it all. But I also agree with it. And I focus on stuff that leads to serious injury and death. But we do respect it. And even if it's something that people don't personally agree with, we are employed to enforce it. So while some people don't write it because that's their purview, they decide that they don't enforce the things that they're sticky on. They don't think it's right. That's up to them. It's an individual discretion thing. But we absolutely have to follow the rules, and we're obliged to follow them. What do we got here? Is it illegal? What is this? Is it illegal to have necklaces on the rear view mirror? Technically, you can't have anything obstructing your view. Why would you have a necklace? But a tiny little necklace? If you had rope chains, if you had Mr. T stuff hanging from the rear view mirror, you might be obstructing your view. A necklace? Someone has a rosary on their rear view mirror. I wouldn't charge someone for that. I don't think that obscures your vision. Is it technically in the driver's view? Technically, but I think that's a stretch. Okay. What do we got here? Police talk on the phone, speed, and park illegally. Yes, Ming. And police are legally permitted to, by exemption from the specific laws that you've noted, they're permitted to exceed the speed limit, use their cell phones, and they can park illegally because they're exempt from municipal bylaws when they're in the lawful execution of their duties. So they're not breaking the law when they do exactly what you've just stated in your question. Police can talk on their phone, use police radios, use police computers in the lawful execution of their duties. Priority information is required for officer and public safety. There's a reason for it. Where in the law, an exemption is there. And there's other people who are exempt too. You know who's exempt from using their cell phone when they're driving? In an emergency, you are. There's exemptions that make sense. The laws were not written to give somebody more rights than another. The laws are written to make it as safe as possible while still allowing people to do the things they need to do to get the job done. That's why there's even exemptions for ham radio operators. If you're a licensed ham operator, you're allowed to use your walkie-talkie. Your handheld transmitter or transceiver is lawfully used if you're a ham. Why? Because those people are relied on for communication in certain situations. So there's an exemption for them. It's not just that cops do things that you can't do. I know it makes you upset, but the fact is there's an exemption under law. They're not breaking rules. They're given exemptions. All right. Let's see here. I got questions. Kayla says, I just spent 2 days at ITS Canada conference. Many panel discussions about traffic safety and technology. Wish you were there. I wish I was there too. Why didn't you invite me? Hey, Kayla, I'm disappointed. I wouldn't have been able to go, but it would be nice to have the invite, just saying. Okay. Now, the question, it's time to close the show, and I don't know if I've got it in me right now because I've been talking for an hour and a half, but Justin wanted me to do my Optimus Prime, and I will try. I no guarantees that it's going to come up as Optimus Prime. We came to social media to help humanity. I feel like we will prevail no matter the cost. TPS followers, transform and roll out. All right. I hope that works. Anyway, I've had too much fun. I always do. You guys are awesome. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. to do it all again. So 10 a.m. right here, wherever you're watching right now. And please follow, like, share, subscribe. You know all the business. Here's the traffic song. Actually, no, we're going to skip the traffic song because I got someone waiting to talk to me. And the traffic song's like a minute and a half. So see you tomorrow.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.